Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my podcast. This is episode 2 of MacKool's Takes and Debate. I'm your host, Julian MacKool. On this episode, we'll be talking about the Kyrie Irving trade with Dallas, NBA All-Star snubs, as well as quarterback situations around the NFL since Tom Brady's retirement. With that being said, I hope you guys leave a like, comment down below what you enjoyed about the podcast, and leave a follow to my Spotify and my YouTube. I'll leave both of those down in the description below. And with that being said, let's get on with the episode. In this episode, we'll be talking about the Kyrie Irving trade with Dallas. Now, this was a big trade that sparked just the last 24 hours ago as about I am recording this. Now, discussing this trade, I think this trade is very surprising, particularly because I thought the Lakers would be making bigger push, and I thought they had more to offer than Dallas, but nonetheless, Kyrie Irving is a Dallas Maverick now. Now, I'll be talking about what this means to both sides, starting with the Dallas Mavericks. I think this trade for Dallas shows that they're obviously contending for a title like we already thought, but this adds another superstar with Luka, because Luka's never really had help. I mean, Porzingis, they tried it, but Porzingis just wasn't really the right fit, really. And obviously this offseason, they went after Christian Wood, which I think is a plus because I think he's a lot better of a defender than Porzingis. So I think they have a good big man there. Now, what they gave up was, I saw was a 2027 first-round pick, second-round pick, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Spencer Dinwiddie for Kyrie, and I think there's somebody else in the trade, but it's really about Kyrie Irving. So they didn't really give up too much for Kyrie, because since Kyrie Irving has had all these, Kyrie's just crazy right now for what he does. Like, he's just a crazy person, which makes his trade value go down than what really he is. On the court, he's still probably a top 20 to top 15 NBA player, no doubt, but his off the court antics make it really like his trade value go down a little bit. So I think Dallas gave up not really that much for a player like Kyrie Irving. Now this does now to see if this works, it'll be interesting because Luka does need the ball. Like, Luka is a ball dominant guard. Same with Kyrie, but Kyrie has played off ball before. I've seen with every team he's been on, starting with the Cavs with LeBron and Kevin Love, Celtics with young Tatum, young Brown, and even with Brooklyn, obviously he had Kevin Durant and James Harden. So he's played off the ball before, but Luka's probably the more ball dominant player he has had in his career if he decides to play when Luka comes back fully healthy, both of them on the same team. So defensively, I don't know if I think this is a downgrade for Dallas defensively, because they do get rid of a guy like Dorian Finney-Smith, who can guard almost all 5 positions. Spencer Dinwiddie, who's a solid defender, so he's been actually improving this year on defense. So defensively, I think it's a little bit of a downgrade, but offensively, if you can put up more points than the other team with 2 scorers, like Luka can do his thing, and then same thing with LeBron. LeBron needs to bring the ball up, and then when LeBron would let Kyrie Irving have his go around with scoring. So offensively, I think there'll be no problem. It'll probably take at least 2 weeks for them to really to have chemistry, but I think it'll be fine. Now on Brooklyn's side of things, I think now the question leads toward, is Kevin Durant going to come back next year? And that's the big question, because let's be for real, the big three with James Harden, Kyrie, and Kevin Durant might be the biggest flop in NBA history, other than maybe the Steve Nash, Dwight Howard, Kobe Bryant big three, but those Dwight and Steve Nash were really not in their prime at that time. Like, Nash had a lot of back issues, and Dwight Howard wasn't really the same as he was in Orlando, but Brooklyn might be the biggest big three flop in NBA history, so there's that. But Kevin Durant, I think, is more than likely to be gone next year, because, he did request a trade last offseason that just happened, but I think the teams that he most likely will go to are either the Phoenix Suns or the Portland Trail Blazers. Now, I think more Phoenix than Portland, because I think Phoenix has more to give, such as DeAndre Ayton or Mikal Bridges or Cameron Johnson even. But I can see Portland too. Portland can give up Grant, Simons, and a couple picks, and other players for Kevin Durant. So Kevin Durant, I think, is a big watch this offseason coming up. Again, because Kyrie's gone now, and he came to Brooklyn to win a championship. And I think with Kyrie this year, I think they were really good, but now without Kyrie, that gives them less of a scorer. So, and Ben Simmons doesn't really. He's a good player, but he's not going to drop you 25 to 30 points a game like Kevin Durant or Kyrie. So I think Kevin Durant's a big watch this offseason. In this part of the segment, we'll be talking about NBA All-Star snubs. So the NBA All-Star starters and reserves have been released the past couple days. And some of the people that made it, such as LeBron, the Giannis's, the KD's, but then there was other players that were reserved, such as the Jaylen Browns, the Tyrese Halliburton's, the what's his name? I'm trying to remember his name now. Donovan Mitchell, obviously, and many other players. But some of the snubs I thought that should have made it were either James Harden, Jimmy Butler, or Darius Garland, because I think they've been having monster seasons as well, and they've been leading their teams to more success. Now, you could argue Trae Young, but the Hawks haven't been really doing good. But then again, it's just an all-star award. Like, many players who haven't been on good teams have made all-star appearances, or really haven't won a lot, made it to a lot of all-star appearances just to be an example, such as like Steve Francis, Baron Davis, and more recently like the Vince Carters and like Chris Paul. But nonetheless, they still got to make the all-star team regardless if they're great players. I think a bigger snub that I think people don't really talk about is the emergence of Jalen Brunson in New York. I mean, he's been having a baller season, and a lot of people were flacking the Knicks for them giving that big contract extension to Jalen Brunson. But Jalen Brunson has been nothing but excellent in New York. Now, I think New York as a team is good, but I don't think Tom Thibodeau. I think he's more of a regular season coach, gets you to the first round, and then you lose either in the semis or you lose in the first round. But I think they're a good team, and I just don't think Tom Thibodeau is the right. I think he's a good coach, no doubt about it, but I don't think he's the Steve Kerrs, the Nick Nurses, the Mike Budenholzers or even Jack Vaughn right now of the NBA coaching land right now. But he's still a good coach, no doubt. But the Knicks, I don't think will really make it past more than the first round. If they make it to the semis, I'll call that a successful season for sure. But how the season has turned out, they can do a lot better. On this part, we'll be talking about the NFL quarterback scenarios right now in the NFL since the retirement of Tom Brady. Now, some of these teams that really need quarterbacks are the Texans, the Panthers, the Bucks now, then like weird scenarios such as the Packers, Seahawks, Jets, and even Dolphins right now. So the Bucks, with the retirement of Tom Brady, now need to look for an answer at quarterback. Now, they did draft Kyle Trask last year, which, I mean, he was okay in Florida, but really he had a lot of weapons such as Kadarius Toney and Kyle Pitts. So, I mean, he did have weapons, obviously, but I would look for a quarterback. Now, in the draft, they didn't really finish the season really great, but they still made the playoffs, so they're not going to really have a high draft pick. But I think really the top quarterbacks in this draft are Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. I think everyone else kind of falls, like these two are up here, like CJ and Bryce Young, and then everyone else is kind of like going down. But maybe at their pick they can get a guy like Will Levis if they really wanted to draft a QB, but I think their scenario is really weird. The Panthers, I think Sam Darnold did finish the year okay, but I don't think he's the answer either, so I would look for a quarterback, and I think Frank Wright, getting him a head coach is a great move by them because he is a good offensive mind. He did get the short end of the stick in Indianapolis for the last 2 years, but he can really develop a quarterback, I think, if you give him the right one. So I would look for drafting one of the top two quarterbacks. The Texans are interesting too because, I mean, Davis Mills had one good rookie year, and then last year was obviously disappointing. But the whole Texans team, I mean, they were competitive, but they just really weren't good as a roster as a whole. So I think they can do better at QB now. I don't know why people are really overreacting about the Bears getting the first number 1 overall pick, because I don't think they're going to take a quarterback because they already have Justin Fields. I think they're going to go after Will Anderson, which I think will be a great pickup for them, for their defense, because the Bears just need everything they can right now as well. But I think the Texans will still get either Bryce Young or even CJ Stroud, so I think they're fine. Now, that does depend on if the Bears are taking trade offers with the number 1 pick, such as teams just like the Panthers, Panthers, even Saints, even the Jets could maybe be involved in there, the Raiders, Bucks. So it really does depend on the Bears, like trying to see if they're going to trade down for that pick, because they really don't need a quarterback, but a lot of these other teams need quarterbacks. So this offseason will be really interesting, and I think Aaron Rodgers will really change the factor, because whatever conference he goes to or whatever division can really change the outcome of everyone else. So I think his more likely teams are he either stays with the Packers still, the Jets, or the Raiders. I don't think the Niners are really that worried, but Aaron Rodgers will decide this offseason what happens to really a lot of these quarterbacks and the domino effect of the NFL. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a like, share this with family and friends, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're on the Spotify, please give me a follow. I try my best to entertain everybody here as possible. And with that being said, I'll leave you guys to it. Goodbye.